Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the GE refrigerator lower door hinge kit. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the instructions, the upper cam riser, and the hinge assembly. The lower door hinge kit is what supports the door. The main reason to be changing it out is if the cams are worn or damaged and the door isn't closing or opening properly. In order to get to the part, we're going to open up both doors so we can take off the kick plate. To get the kick plate off, it's held in by a clip on each end. If you can't pull it off, you can put a putty knife behind it and just twist it, and that'll get the tab to come out. Once you have one side off, you can just pull the kick plate out a little bit and unlock the other side. Once you have the kick plate out, you can set it aside. Whether you're doing the fresh food side or the freezer side, when you take these parts off, you're going to leave the door unsupported. We're going to support the door, but make sure you take all the food off the door so it's as light as possible and easy to handle. Now that we have the door open, we put some wood blocks underneath it to support it. Whether you're doing the fresh food or the freezer door, the part is changed out the same way. The only difference is on the freezer door, we have to disconnect this water line so we can pull the hinge off of it. So we're going to show you on the freezer side. If you're doing the fresh food side, just skip the step with the water line. We're going to put a towel down to catch any water that might come out when we disconnect the water union. All you have to do is grab it and disconnect one side towards the hinge. Once you have the union disconnected, we can pull the nut off the water line. So carefully pull it off and we can set it aside. Then we're going to use the quarter-inch socket to take off this little clamp that holds the water line onto the frame. Once you have it off, you can slide the clamp and the protective tubing off the water line and set it all aside. Now we're going to use a 5/16 socket with the ratchet to take the bolts out that hold the hinge to the frame. Once you have the bolts off, you can grab the shim that's behind it. You want to make sure you don't lose that, so we can put it back in there when we put it back together. And then we're going to pull down on the hinge and pull it off the water line. Now that we have the hinge off the frame, we can take all this stuff off the door. We're going to use our 5/16 inch socket to take off these bolts that hold on the door stop, the cam riser, and the riser cam shim. Want to make sure you hold the door so it doesn't fall off while you're taking the bolts out. The bolt's pretty long, but once you get it unscrewed, you can pull it out. Once you have the second bolt out, you can pull it out and set the bolt and the door closer aside, and then make sure you don't lose this shim. And then we can pull the cam riser and the riser cam shim off the water line. Here's the old lower door hinge kit next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. You do want to make sure you read the instructions because you have to change this out as a complete set. First, we're going to slide the riser cam shim onto the water hose. We're going to kind of have to put it all together here, and then we're going to put the hinge cam riser on. And then we have to kind of hold it all and put the door stop on. Once you have the door stop on, we can kind of turn it around and put the other shim on, and then we can slide it all up the water line and get the first bolt started. Once you have the bolt started, we can grab our 5/16 socket with the ratchet and tighten it down. Once you have the first one about halfway tightened, we're going to put in the second one and get it started so that we can line up the holes while everything is still loose. Once you have the second one tight, we can go back and finish tightening down the first one. Now we can put the new hinge on. You want to grab the water line and put it through the hinge pin and slide the hinge all the way up so the pin goes up to the door. Once you have it in place, you can push it all the way up. If it won't go in, you may have to move it around. Remember, if the door came open a little bit, you're going to have to turn it because the door stops on this little bump right here. It only lets you allow the door to go so far open. So move your block around and get the hinge in position. Then you can get your spacer and bolt ready. And if you have to get somebody to help you, you can. Once you have the first bolt in, we can grab our 5/16 socket with the ratchet and tighten it down. Before we totally tighten it down, we're going to put the other bolt in, make sure that the spacer lines up so we can put it in. Once you have it started, we can tighten it down. And then we can tighten down the top one. With the hinge in place, we can reattach the water line. We're going to slide the protective shield over it first. And then we can put the clamp over it. Then we can use our 1/4" nut driver to attach the clamp to the frame. With the clamp in place, we can reconnect the water union. To put this back together, we're going to slide the nut down so a little bit of the line comes out. Then we're going to grab this and pull it out if we have to, and push the water line up into the union until it bottoms out, and then we can slide the nut up and tighten it down. Make sure we get a nice tight seal. If this water line pops out when you're doing that, you can put it back in the clamp. It's right here. Now that we have the part installed, we can take the wood blocks out from underneath the door. And you can swing the door back and forth to make sure everything runs smooth. And then we can put the kick plate back on. To put the kick plate back on, we're going to line this little locking tab up with the catch and snap it into place on each end. Now that we have the kick plate installed, we can close both the doors, plug the refrigerator back in, and make sure it starts to cool. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.